Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. And this time we are racing in Canada.
Canada.
Canada. We are racing in Montreal, and we have a special guest accompanying me this episode, Mr. Sumukh. He is joining here wearing Indian jersey, but he's not supporting India for some reason this World Cup. But okay, we'll give him that.
I think this was one of the best races so far of this season. I think you'll agree with me on it. Both wet and dry conditions present in the race. What do you think of the race?
I think the race was, to be honest, uh, the rain, and then before the race started, there was like before the weekend started, there was a huge hailstorm. So overall, the entire weekend was completely wet. That's what she said. But anyway,
Yeah.
uh, this rain gave a lot of interesting aspects to the race itself because all the drivers, it just takes the drivers to the limits during the race. And also the rain also affects a lot on how the racing teams decide the strategies with the drivers, when to pit and which tire compound to choose. So that also affects a lot, and overall the race was pretty fun. What do you say?
You made an interesting point about the strategies made by the team in the wet conditions. What do you think about K-Mag and Haas on their gamble with the wet tires and then bottling it up with the pit stop? For all the time that he made, overtaking was completely taken by the pit crew to fit four sets of intermediate tires.
To be honest, uh, K-Mag was doing so well with his moves, but also he was doing a lot of risky moves, like how we have seen in the last race in Monaco. But nevertheless, K-Mag's that blunder, that was actually, it costed him a lot during the race, right? But overall, I don't know what Haas was thinking, and I think Haas isn't that well versed in handling under conditions, because after all they have Ferrari genes in them, the master planner. But anyway, Haas, they couldn't get the strategies right, and maybe this would be a lesson for the coming days, because we will be going to Spa in the coming days, and that is like, once it starts raining there, it is really hard to maintain that.
So you're betting on another swimming pool race in Spa. Okay, moving on from K-Mag. What do you think about McLaren's putting it up on a show consistently? And they had some real pace in Canada this weekend.
Oh, speaking of McLaren, oh my God. McLaren, especially if I talk about Lando Norris from McLaren, he is putting on a stellar show throughout the weekend. And then he just, whenever he gets an opportunity, he always makes sure that he clinches to that. You know, in the last two race weekends as well, he has been putting a lot of stellar show, and he has been giving Max Verstappen, the championship leader right now, a run for his money, you know. But oh my, I keep on telling about Lando Norris in the previous episodes. Also, I've been saying, let's hear your views on it.
I mean, that's great. I think he almost had a chance to win it back to back, but the safety car kind of took his lead. He had a good 15-second gap with Max, but yeah, the safety car played out in the way of Max, and unfortunately, he had to take the second place. But I think there are quite a few wins around the corner waiting for McLaren in this whole season going forward. They're just getting better and better, and finally, some good development happening on the Mercedes engines. And that brings us to Mercedes. Are they back?
They are. I have no clue what is going on with Mercedes right now, because one driver is, living his life, and another the driver, he is just losing his mind. He just can't wait to leave Mercedes and go to Ferrari, because apparently this race for Lewis Hamilton, it was the worst drives he ever had.
I think he was more desperate to get on the podium because Canada is one of his favorite tracks, and that's where he registered his first victory in Formula One. And he had the slim chance of making the P3, but last couple of laps with George and Lewis, oh, that brought back memories of Spain 2016.
Oh my, Spain 2016, it's like Spain without the S.
Yeah, it was almost there.
But never, that is, that meme that is like the war flashbacks and all. Spain 2016 is basically that war flashback. Is like, oh my god, it's like full kamikaze, just coming on top of each other. Of you, like your own teammate is, shooting kamikazes on you. How would you feel that? It's, really bad. But speaking of safety car, would you tell our viewers and tell me also, because I haven't watched the race completely, why did the safety car happen? What was the reason for that?
I think it was because of Logan Sargent's crash, right? The
Yeah.
safety car that happened. Yeah, like even I slept after the safety car, but it happened due to Sargent's crash, and it played out pretty well for all the field except Lando.
But to be honest, along with Logan Sargent, I think it was Science Checo, and I think Albon.
He- Yeah, Sainz had a spin and he was on his lawnmower.
Hmm. But that was, speaking of Checo being in this fiasco. What do you say about Checo? Because he recently had his contract extension, and he started in P16. And along
Yeah.
with that, with P16, he could not finish the race because Sainz pulled him into the fiasco thing, and then he just his rear wing got disconnected,
He
and
had a very early incident as well in the lap one of the race. So this is typical Checo. He gets a contract extension and he bottles the very next race.
he
And
bottled
this
the
is not,
previous race also. He bottled the
yeah,
previous race also in
it's
Monaco.
two
That
consecutive races of not making it past Q1 for Checo. I think contract is just a piece of paper. We saw hints of Christian Horner dropping it on signs of looking into Yuki because he's performing well with the, I don't know, very long team name. I can't pronounce it.
uh,
I'll just call it RB.
or just call it vegan carbs.
RB sounds cool.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
so he's been the better of driver compared to Daniel. And also, Ricardo had a very great qualifying. He made it to P5. He had something to prove on the paddock.
and also like Lewis, I think Daniel Ricciardo recorded his first win in Montreal itself.
Yeah, I don't recall, but quite sure that
Yeah,
he has a win in Montreal.
his first win was his debut win was in Canada actually. I think when he was racing for Red Bull, that was his first win in Montreal itself. But nevertheless, talking about Honey Badger, he starts P5. Welcome back a lot.
How many times have we done this? Welcome back. Welcome back, and then we go in, ah, shit, here we go again. Yeah.
Uh, That
Speaking
is like
about
every.
shit, here we go again. It's double DNF for Ferrari. They had a magnificent weekend in Monaco. What happened to Ferrari?
As I mentioned earlier, Haas having the Ferrari genes. One drop of water falls on the track and that's it. Ferrari strategists lose their mind. They could
Yeah,
not set their strategy properly, and then, or what is more surprising is that the last weekend Charles literally wins his home GP, and then this weekend he is out in Q2. Like both
he
the
was
Ferraris are out in
extremely
Q2.
unhappy with the car setup. It was just moving all around in the last corners of the circuit. It was just too slow on the corners.
Especially, Canada is like high speed track. Like it is medium high speed track.
It's a high-speed
Like,
track with low turn corners, low speed corners.
yeah. And but actually, the most notable part was when Charles was doing his quali run. Actually, both the Ferraris, Charles and Carlos's, you know, the last chicane, like towards the wall of champions, that is where they both messed up really bad. That is
They were
where
losing the control, yeah.
they lost it. But speaking of losing, let's talk about who gained. George Russell, he gained the time in that track. And also, George Russell and Max Verstappen set the same time. Same time. But George Russell gets on pole because he sets the time earlier than Max. But what is going on with George Russell's Mercedes, man? What is going on?
That was some insane lap. Looking at the overall weekend of practice sessions and qualifying sessions, I didn't want to get my hopes. I seeing a lot of times Mercedes name being brought up in the top three, but once I saw that George has equaled Max's best lap in Montreal, I was, yeah, this is it. This is it. It's time for George, but very unfortunate the car lacks race pace. But
That
yeah, he
is
did
that.
a very good job defending Max for first 18-20 laps.
But the main question is, are we ready for Mercedes Red Bull fight again? Are we ready for it?
They've been going this path for 3 years now. We see one good qualifying and we think, oh, it's time. Lewis versus Max is back again with George versus Max or something. But no, the car lacks a lot of race pairs. Both of the drivers are extremely unhappy with the car.
Especially Lewis. I mean, he just, stands like he just, parks his car on the side of the track, and then uh he is completely silent in the car. He's just
Yeah, he's on
sitting
notice period.
quietly.
Of
Uh,
course, he's on notice period. What does he have to do?
like he can't even complain also because he knows he's not there in the car anymore. But the sad part is that when Toto was telling Lewis over com saying that at least the car was faster, and he doesn't even respond to that. He just turns off the car silently. He keeps the steering on the side and he just gets out the car. He doesn't even do anything about it. And then in the post race interview, he says that this was the worst drive has ever had.
Oh man, we have been hearing this worst race he has ever driven for quite a lot of times. I think we can make a chart of like we can rank his worst races based on his commentaries post race. I think
Uh,
last year Monaco will be on top of it.
no, but moreover, we have listened that Bono, my tires are gone. Bono, I don't have grip. Bono, my this is gone. Bono, my that is gone.
Bono, now the car is gone. You need to put it in the dustbin.
Bono, my contract is over. I'm going to Ferrari.
Bono, I'm leaving Mercedes. Mercedes is
but
gone, Bono.
are definitely gonna miss that, Lewis and Bono uh partnership.
At
Actually, not.
least
I wouldn't
one,
miss that.
one race victory before he leaves Mercedes. Too much to ask.
Yeah, too much to ask. Too much to ask. That is maybe possible. Like, see, there are two scenarios that will help Lewis get a win. First is Mercedes racing like how they raced in 2020, or second, if Max DNF. To be honest, not only
Well,
Max, Lando, then Charles, Carlos, all these drivers, if they DNF, then or entire grid just DNFs and it's
just
just
have a
Lewis.
race for Mercedes for both of their cars to race for 60, 70 laps. Let's see who wins it. We can have Haas for some thrills, for some blunders, or some memes, of course.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
know,
there.
whoever has the Ferrari genes, they are meme materials always.
Yeah, for sure. So Mercedes looked good in Canada. It's one of the strongest tracks, not to deny. And they will be moving to a much stronger and dominant track for Mercedes. That will be Spain. Do you think Mercedes will continue or improve from P3 to P2? You see anything? Any anticipations before Spain?
To be honest, in Spain, more than the speed, you need a lot of uh, aerodynamic grip. I mean, grip is, proportional to the speed that we all know. More the grip, better the speed. But to be honest, the Mercedes, the way they are experimenting on their car with their aerodynamic packages, if they mess up, that will result in sacrificing their entire grip for the entire weekend. That is going to cost a lot, because in sector 3, you need a high amount of grip, especially during the chicane. You need a lot of grip in front, and then you need to have front brake bias. So if the drivers and the team, if they mess up those scenarios, then Mercedes, no chance at all.
I'm hoping for a better weekend for Mercedes. I think they'll build it on from here. Like we can see some good signs for teams using Mercedes powered units now. But surprisingly, Aston Martins are dipping now.
Yeah, because Daddy Stroll isn't paying attention to his kids adequately, especially Lance Stroll, because what is that person doing in this seat? I don't know.
You don't know, you don't know, nobody knows what Lance Stroll is doing. Anyways, so we will see you before or after Spain. Hopefully, it is not Spain without S, and we'll come with W. Yeah,
And definitely Spain without an A. We can't miss that.
that's for the Ferraris who were spinning it all over the lawns, cutting some grass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Espinala. It's that time of the season where we can bring Espinala back.
Anyway, so that brings us to the wrap of this episode. It was fun, very short episode to catch up on the Canadian Grand Prix as we move ahead to the Spain. So we shall see you soon on or before the Grand Prix. Until then, peace.
Peace. See you guys next week.
60th time in Formula One, Max Verstappen takes the win. Red Bull back on top. Max Verstappen wins the Canadian Grand Prix.